Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Smack Talk Live. I am Coach along with Lone Wolf. And Lone Wolf, let's get this done and over with right away.
Yep.
We're all tired of hearing about it. Bucks won the Super Bowl, and we're moving on.
Sounds good to me.
I mean, unless you have anything else to talk, unless you want to say anything else.
The only thing I will say about it is Bruce Arians has been a coach in the league for a really long time. Glad to see that, he got to a point where he was able to win a Super Bowl. He came really close in Arizona, and he got his Super Bowl now, so I'm happy for him.
I mean, I will say this though. If
Yeah.
you watch, I didn't watch the game, but
No,
I
didn't
know
really either. Yep.
I know a bunch of Chiefs fans that were talking about the same thing that we talked about in the NFC Championship game with the refs.
Oh, yep. Letting a lot of stuff go. Yeah.
A lot of stuff go until like the end of the half, and
Right.
then all of a sudden it was all against the Chiefs. So
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, the NFL wanted Tom Brady to win the Super Bowl. Period. This was a manufactured championship for the Buccaneers. I'm going to go on record and saying that this was a staged Super Bowl title. I don't care if people call me a conspiracy theorist, whatnot. There's too much stench around this thing.
Yeah.
Too much.
I'll say this. I'll say, when I look at it, it's enough leverage or enough in certain situations to allow them to do better. So you had a lot of that in the NFC Championship game. They weren't calling this pass interference or defensive holding, which was going on the whole game. And then in that key moment, it was called, and it was called against the Packers.
Right.
So yeah, I agree. That's what I heard too, and what I'd read too is the same kind of stuff. They were saying the same things. And it was in key moments. Now, I mean, granted, Mahomes got sacked a lot. He got pushed around a lot. So I don't know if that completely changed the outcome of the game, but it certainly didn't hurt for the outcome to be what it was. So That's really disappointing, when you see that kind of stuff. It's very disappointing.
Exactly. And, again, my thought was, I think, correct, is that people are saying this was the lowest viewed Super Bowl, I think they said, in 15 years or so.
Yeah
And people are saying it's because of social justice. No, I don't. I think everybody's kind of moved past that stuff.
Right.
I know I have it. That's not why I didn't watch the game. I didn't watch the game because I'm tired of Tom Brady. I think people are Tom Brady'd out.
Yeah.
And then he posts a tweet. I don't know. Did you see that tweet he posted?
I did not. No.
Towards Max Kellerman. Oh, I gotta pull this up. Well, no, that's gonna be my Beavis comment of the week. So
okay. Right.
I'll pull this up.
We'll save it. All right.
I mean, the way Tom Brady has acted, since winning the Super Bowl, I think has really changed my perspective on him.
Mm-hmm.
Before it's like, yeah, he's the greatest, but he's a class act. Not after this. Not the way he's been acting.
This I think segues into the topic that a lot of people are talking about, and that's him just tossing the Lombardi Trophy like it's
Exactly.
a dime store trophy.
Right. On the water.
Yeah.
He tossed it from boat to boat. What if the thing would have fell into the ocean?
Right.
I mean, seriously, how much?
I don't want anybody to come out here and say, "Oh, well, he's got so many of them, it doesn't matter." I mean, he doesn't have any. Okay, I mean,
right?
The team.
It's the team. It's the team's trophy.
Right.
But I don't even care about that, because that can be replaced. It's an iconic symbol of the league.
It was completely and totally disrespectful. Absolutely.
And he was tossing it around like it was a play toy.
Right.
Like it didn't matter. I'm like, are you freaking kidding? When I saw that, I was like, are you kidding me? You just went from what I thought a class act was to a piece of crap.
Yeah.
And I hope you get your brains pounded out on the field next year.
Right.
I'm telling you right now, he is giving people so much incentive to just blast him all season next year.
Yeah, and they're going to. I mean,
Oh yeah,
everybody's coming for him. Those defensive ends are looking to put a hit on him no matter what. And some of
yeah,
them will probably do it and take the flag even
and
if it's
take the
you know
fine.
bad.
They aren't
They
going to
don't
care.
care. They
They
don't
aren't going
care.
to care. They're you. The Vikings fans were pissed when Favre was targeted.
Right.
You guys haven't seen targeting because there's going to be 16 teams targeting Tom Brady next year.
Yeah.
16 of them. Tom, you better you
Buckle up, buddy.
you better buckle up, Buttercup, because they're coming. I'll tell you that
Yeah.
right now. Because
Yeah.
no,
This whole thing left a bad taste in my mouth from the fact that yes, it was clear the NFL wanted him to win, and he's being so arrogant about it. And then afterwards, this whole tossing the trophy and acting like a jerk and yeah, no respect whatsoever.
yeah, and any player that hasn't won that trophy, I would never do that. They would
Right.
treat it like it's a child, and Tom Brady's just like, I don't care, I don't care, whatever, big deal. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, that really irritated me. Um, and like I said, was one of our topics. Um,
Yep.
we're in agreement on this.
Oh yeah,
If
absolutely.
anybody's out there listening and I will invite somebody to come in and defend Tom Brady on this. Please defend Tom Brady on this. I don't know how you can, but please try because
Well, and coach, part of the problem is leading up to this game as the playoffs started, you know, there are a lot of people that just kept feeding his ego. We've been talking about this the whole playoffs, but it was Tom Brady's so good, Tom Brady's so good, Tom Brady's so good, and you listen to the announcers as you're watching a game, and all they want to do is deify this guy. He's so good, he's not even human. Blah blah blah. Well, eventually, I don't know. I mean, if he's been hearing that enough, does it go to his head? I mean, it seems like it, and I don't know why this feels a little different. I know he wanted to kind of rub it in Belichick's face, like I can do it without you, but like you said, it felt like he might have been more of a class act. Well, this must be the real Tom Brady because he is showing himself to be arrogant and disrespectful by acting this way.
right, exactly, and that's why I think. Um, I really think people are done with him. I think this throwing the Super Bowl trophy to another boat. I
Yeah.
think you've turned off so many of your fans that people are now going to be like, it's time for you to go. It is time for you to go. We don't care anymore about you.
Right.
We don't want you here anymore. Um, you know, please, everybody I talk to is saying that they are tired of it. So I have not had one person I've talked to that's like, oh no, I want to see Brady win another one.
Yeah, no, not at all.
You know,
Yeah,
so
no one, exactly.
it's going to be very very interesting um, to see how this goes. I'm just looking for the biggest comment of the week, so that's why I'm
Oh,
coming.
okay, yeah, sure, no problem.
So,
Yeah.
but anyways, that was our second NFL topic. Again, there's not really much to say about these first two topics.
No, there's really not. I mean, we could talk about it for a long time, but there's really not a whole lot to say about it. The game's over, and then really, like I said, just contemptible actions there. I don't think there's anything there that can be defended. I agree with you. I'd say if anybody came on here and was like, "Whoa, no, really," because I feel like whatever the case may be, I don't see it. And like you said, all of those other people out there in the NFL who have not won that trophy are seeing him do that. and it really is disrespecting them too, because they're working so hard to get to that point. Every player, and even the guys who probably have won it, they look at it and like, we would never do that. They never treated it that way. And look what the Chiefs did last year when they won. I mean, they weren't, playing backyard football with the Lombardi Trophy or something stupid. So this is just an act that deserves to be pointed out and made to be something that is what it is. It's contemptible. Never do this. It's disrespectful.
Right, exactly. It's you just don't do that stuff. Um,
Show a little reverence for the game, and
be humble. Be humble. You nobody else is ever going to do what you did again. If there's another quarterback that does this, um, I'll be shocked.
yeah.
I would really, really be shocked. Um,
I mean, he has a right to be at least a little, I don't want to say cocky, but at least a little bit about how good he is. I mean, he's
I,
won 7 Super Bowls. I get that, but this goes way, way beyond that.
well, and that's the thing. Here's the thing. I wouldn't have a problem if he was like a cocky, confident guy.
Right,
I
right.
get that, but
Yeah.
now what you did was just arrogance,
Yes. Yeah.
and that I have a problem with.
Right. Absolutely. Yep.
That is what my problem is. So, but anyways, it is what it is. Again, I really can't wait to see defenses because I'm sorry, Tom. You can sit here and say you want to play till you're 50 or whatever. The game's going to catch up with you. Everything comes to an end. And then you got Joe Montana coming out there. Oh, keep playing. And my fear here is all of a sudden when Tom hits that wall, it's gonna hit hard.
Yeah, it will.
So, anyways, that's where we're at with that. Tom Brady disrespects the NFL and the Vince Lombardi Trophy by tossing around like a chew toy. So moving on. So the last thing right now that I wanted to touch base with the NFL, and this has really been heating up the last couple of days here.
Mm-hmm.
Another quarterback, big time quarterback. Obviously, we've talked about a lot of quarterbacks last week, but quarterback we thought was pretty positive, not going anywhere.
Right.
Could be on the move.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, and that is Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Could be on the move.
I was really surprised about this. I mean, we talked about a lot of other people. We talked about Wentz and all these other quarterbacks, and in this story, I was like, huh, really? This surprises me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm like, one of my students is a huge Seahawks fan, and I asked him today what he thought about that, and he goes, "You know what? I'm a Russell Wilson fan, and if they're not going to build an offensive line to protect him, yeah, I hope he gets traded." I was like, "Holy smokes, that's not the reaction I thought I was going to get."
Yeah. Well, and he said, I'm frustrated with getting hit too much.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
But you expect a guy to come out and say something, obviously, but I think it's just, you see that there's a frustration level that must have been building over a certain period of time. Man, this is a shocker, I mean, just because if he moves, that's a piece there. That Seahawks team is going to be awful. I mean, I get it. They have some pieces, but they're going to be awful if he's gone.
Well, and think about it, though, if they don't fix their offensive line,
yeah,
they're never going back to the Super Bowl.
Right. No,
there's not. It's one of those things. Now, because here's the thing, people were talking about, Aaron Rodgers comments, and all Aaron Rodgers said was, the future's uncertain. You just don't know in the league what's going to happen. He never said, hey, you got to do this and this.
Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson has come on basically without saying, I want to be traded, basically said, if you're not going to fix this, get me out of here.
Right.
And a team that I think, and we were talking about, we weren't sure who they could target after not getting Matt Stafford. A team that is highly rumored to be really trying him. Now, multiple teams have called Seattle about him. I'm sure Seattle's saying, no, we're not trading him. But Denver has been a lot of someone. I mean, Denver is very, very interested in Russell Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
And they have, I think, enough pieces where they could put a package together to get Wilson. He's 32 years old. So he's young, but he's not super young.
Right.
Because everybody has to think, he hasn't been in the league, that long, but he played 5 years in college.
Right.
So, that would be interesting. That I think, would put Denver right in the playoff mix. If they got Russell Wilson, they have good receivers. They have an okay defense, and the AFC West is already going to be really strong. Oh my Lord!
Yeah, I mean, you put him into that mix, it's outrageous.
That would be, that'd be wow.
He's been in the league for 9 years, and he's never had a losing record as a starting quarterback.
Right.
I mean, he's just been great, consistently good or great, every the whole time. This was a little surprising to me. I guess maybe just because we hadn't really ever heard anything like this before out of this situation, out of him, out of anything, and now there's a lot of clear frustration that's bubbling up here. I did read one article, Coach, that the Raiders might be the odds-on favorite to try to get Russell Wilson.
Wow.
And I was thinking, if that's the case, that might make you happy.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if the Raiders get Russell Wilson, they'll finish second behind the Chiefs next year. If the Chiefs can solidify that defense, because that defense did not look good at all. So
no, they did not. They need a few more pieces. I think we had talked about their defense being susceptible. And honestly, I kind of think that, a different NFC team making the Super Bowl, we probably would have picked them too. I mean, we picked the Chiefs, I think, partially because we thought they could really defeat the Bucs, but everything kind of turned and just didn't work out. But if like the Packers had made the Super Bowl, I think I would have picked the Packers to beat the Chiefs, because I think the Chiefs, their defense was kind of suspect. We thought that, and that played out on the field. So,
right, exactly, yeah, and that's the thing. I think you really saw that the Chiefs' defense is not where people thought it was. I don't think the Chiefs had a really difficult schedule, and I was concerned with the Chiefs. I was just hoping the Chiefs would win.
right, yeah.
Because I'm tired of Tom Brady. I'm tired of people just basically bending over for him and doing whatever he wants. Just tired of it. So
Yeah, and I've been looking at this too, and I saw that the Cowboys came up as a possible landing spot for Wilson. I
Yeah,
thought this is just not going to happen. I mean, you have Dak Prescott dangling out there. I just don't see that being a possibility, honestly.
right. I don't think. Um, I don't think that the Cowboys are going to move on from Dak Prescott. That'd be foolish
Yeah,
to do. I think. Um, I don't think that
yeah,
that
I
would.
don't see it either. Yeah,
Yeah, I just don't see it. Um, I everybody's talking, they're talking about Deshaun Watson going to Dallas too. I mean, again, you go with either Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. You're paying them the same money you would pay Dak Prescott.
right,
Why not just pay Dak Prescott?
right. Unless you think that that guy is that much better than Dak.
Right, and to be honest, Dak Prescott would have had probably a better statistical year than both Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson
Had he played the whole year. Yeah,
had he played the whole year.
right.
So, um,
It wasn't his fault that they were losing games. I mean, for the most part, you know.
so
Yeah.
we'll see. Well, I guess we'll see. Um, you know,
Yeah, I mean, for me, if you're going to trade him away, I just feel like quarterback is one of those positions that you want to have solidified. And if you don't have it solidified, you see teams that are out there questions at quarterback, and it always doesn't work. The Bears had that problem. The Eagles had that problem. There's a lot of teams that didn't have that figured out. Um, this guy is Mr. Consistency. So if you actually are going to trade him away, you either get something that you think you can have as a viable starter in a trade, or you're going to be bad, and you're going to have to accept that because you're not drafting high. So I mean, maybe you get a high draft pick if you trade him away, and you think you're going to draft your quarterback of the future, but you're still probably going to be bad because there's growing pains. So you know what you've got in Wilson. So if you trade him away, there's no guarantees.
right? That's the thing. So, but anyways, that's going to be a very interesting story to watch.
Hmm.
Um, as we move on. Um, you know, and we'll get start getting into that a little bit more as we move forward here. Um, I think we got a lot more pieces that are going to fall into place over the next, um, couple of weeks here. Um, so we have a lot of time to delve into the offseason moves. Again, still only one, but Deshaun Watson has officially requested a trade. Houston saying they aren't going to trade him. That just means,
What's the price? Yeah.
well, it just means that he's either going to be traded or he's not playing this year. And if he doesn't play, Um, yeah, Houston's in a world of hurt because they're not going to get anything trade value wise for him if he sits out the year. So,
Right.
but anyways, moving on. That is the NFL. Unless you have anything else, Lone Wolf, about the NFL.
No, I mean, we can talk about some of the other trades and stuff, but I think we talked about a lot of those. The Carson Wentz talks and everything else, but
Yeah, I mean, there's so many rumors with Carson Wentz right now. I'm not worried
right,
about that
right,
too
yeah, it's
much.
kind of up in the air right now. Yeah, yep,
Um, you know, we'll talk about more about Green Bay and their new defensive corner once we get kind of an idea what they're going to do with their roster.
right.
Uh, you know, it's a solid pick, but I think he is kind of a consolation prize. They really wanted Jim Leonard, it sounds like, but Jim Leonard turned them down.
Yeah.
So you can't really do much about that. So
No, unfortunately not.
So, yeah, I still think it's an upgrade over Patton. And then just yesterday, the Chicago Bears hired Mike Patton as a senior analyst for their defense,
Yeah.
whatever that job entails.
I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. That means we steal the secrets that the Packers are running or something. I
Right.
mean, I don't know.
That's why they hired him, because they want to try
Yeah.
to beat Green Bay. You're not good enough to beat Green Bay. It doesn't
Right.
matter who the Packers have as defensive coordinator. Your offense is not good enough to beat the Packers.
No, it's not.
So Chicago, you will be third in the NFC North, be ahead of Chicago or ahead of Detroit,
Ahead of
because
Detroit. Yeah.
Detroit's going to be just that bad.
Yeah.
They're going to bite your kneecaps off, but they're going to be bad.
They will do that, and they'll get back up and do it again.
They're going to back up and do it again. But we will go through all this later on. But
Yeah.
no matter what happens, it's going to be Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago, Detroit next year. So, because even if Aaron Rodgers would demand a trade, they trade him. They're going to get it. They'll just go. They'll go get a veteran quarterback, and they'll still be able to win that division, because I don't think the NFC North is really that good.
No.
So,
No.
all right, moving on. We are going to hit some talk. Let's start with the NHL. We have yet
Sure.
to really talk about the NHL here. Their season is a full go. And to be honest, don't know really too much. They kind of went under the radar in the in the during the bubble, but they're
Well, because nothing was going wrong with them at all. I
right.
mean, they executed everything perfectly, and there was no issues, and they were doing great. Yeah.
Right. So, right now, I believe Tampa Bay Lightning is defending champs. They're cruising right now. The Boston Bruins are cruising right now. Our team, the Blackhawks, they started out really, really bad.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
I mean, they
I think
were
they're 6-4 or something now.
6-4-4, and they're sitting in third place in their division. So they've rebounded quite nicely. I believe they started 0-3-3.
Yeah.
So, and then my second team is cruising along the Golden Knights at
they're tops of the
8-1-1. I've kind of even though I am going to be rooting for the Jets, I still adopted all Vegas professional sports teams, because that's my second home. But it's interesting, because like we talked about, you don't hear much about the NHL,
right?
because guess what? They're not having any issues somehow. And even the NFL didn't have a ton of issues. They had a couple, which we've talked about, but not a ton. Especially not like the NBA's having.
No, I mean, I think they've had a few postponements due to COVID. Because I've seen a few things, but when I look at it, they're talking about some of these, like, oh, these people were added to the list. There's 5 people or something. I mean, all these other sports have had huge numbers of people, not just a handful.
Right.
2, 3 kind of thing. Yeah.
So they're kind of cruising along here, and I'm not sure if they have, fans. I don't think they have fans in the stands. I know New York, the governor there finally is allowing them to open up at 10% capacity, and things like that. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into too much of a political philosophy debate about this, but you can't keep everything closed forever. And you can't keep things closed forever. We can sit here and say we want to get it under control. Well, I think we've got it under control. Now you have to hold teams and leagues and venues responsible for following proper protocol.
Yes, right, exactly.
And because COVID's not going away. If people are sitting here waiting for COVID to go away, it's a virus. You're not going to eradicate COVID.
Yeah, not completely. I mean, that takes a lot longer than just this short period of time now, I
Right.
think. So,
So let's, open it back up. And again, we talked about this when it first happened. If people want to assume the risk and go to a game, allow them to go to a game.
And I think you saw that in NFL games as those games went on. They were allowing limited number of fans in the stands at a lot of these games. 6,000 people or something in a 75,000 stadium, so capacity stadium. So you got some of that, but people were spread out. People are wearing masks. People are following the protocols. So you could still do something like that here. Now I understand it's indoors as opposed to outside, but you could still allow a limited number of fans in there. Anyway.
Oh, exactly. You can easily allow fans, limited number of fans to be in, spread them out. I mean, again, like tonight, before I came home, I did crowd control at a middle school basketball game. We have family in the stands.
Yeah.
They sit with your family, and everybody else spread out, have their masks on, and you move forward.
Right.
That's what you do. You follow protocol. If you don't want to follow protocol, you don't go.
And a lot of places have been doing that. A lot of sports have been doing that in terms of
So
having families at their
and
games. Yeah.
and so we'll see. What happens with the NHL moving forward here, as fans are starting to come back to the venues. Um, I know that, and we'll get to the NBA here shortly, but I know the Bucks are bringing fans back here. I think this month or in March, they're going to start allowing some fans back into their new stadium. So it's happening, and I think people realize, we can't just do this forever. We have to start allowing people to come and view our sports, or we're not going to survive.
Right. And again, in a limited capacity and following the rules, and then go from there. Just it's not going to be full on, full open. Nothing. Just in a limited capacity, bring some people back in. So
Right, exactly.
yeah.
Anything else with the NHL?
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, we're very, we've only started the season, really. I mean, there's not that many games that have been played, but there's not a lot of surprises in my opinion. You look top to bottom, for the most part, teams are fairly similar to where they were the year before, at least so far. Um, the only team I look at is maybe the Florida Panthers. They're really, really good, and that's a little bit of a surprise. I think that's the only thing I would say. But a lot of the rest of the teams, the Lightning, the Golden Knights, they're in a position you kind of thought that they would be. The Lightning look really, really good. I mean, they, obviously they won it last year, so but they came out and they look like they're really, really starting off this year in a good position. So I don't think there's a lot of shockers right now. As we go along through the season, maybe there will be as things develop, but right now I didn't think there was a whole lot.
Right, and I agree. I don't think there's a ton of surprises. Again, with the NHL, it's so weird because it's just weird, because they have the wins, losses, and overtime losses, and you get points for overtime losses.
Right.
And so until you get into the playoffs, because it's either you win or you lose, people kind of just look at the standings and see if their team's in it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Are they competitive? Are they in the mix? Right. Yeah.
right. So, I mean, I am an NHL fan. I do like the NHL. I'd love to eventually go to games, but they're so expensive. You
Yeah.
know, that's one thing about the NHL. Going to an NHL game, um, you know, back when the Blackhawks had those couple of championships. I still I used to be down in the Milwaukee area, and I had a couple of coworkers that had tickets to go to a Stanley Cup final game, and so I was like, oh, how much is it? And they're like, oh, yeah, it's really cheap. I go, well, what's cheap? And they go, $200. I'm like, $200. I'm like, wow, this must be great seats. It's like, right next to the ice. They're like, oh no, they're up in the second deck. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not spending $200 to be in nosebleeds. It's like, holy cow. But love watching the NHL, especially the playoffs. The playoffs are fun to watch.
Yeah. Very exciting.
So,
Yeah. Yep.
all right, moving on to the NBA. Because I think that's where we can spend a lot of time here tonight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's not only stuff going on the court, trade rumors. There's a big controversy right now, and I kind of agree with them, and I kind of agree with this when it comes to all kind of all-star type events, like the Pro Bowl. Even I am like, what's the point of playing the Pro Bowl?
Yeah.
But I want to start there, and that is, should the NBA play their all-star game? What do you think?
Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, I get it. It's one of those traditions, but you know, what is some of the point of these particular games? You want to showcase the best players that you have, right? So that's the first thing. But for the players themselves, most of the time they don't want to do this. Like the Pro Bowl, they go to Hawaii, they get a free vacation basically, and so I get why they say that, but a lot of guys opt out of the Pro Bowl and don't even end up playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like for the players themselves, the league cares about it way more than the players do. From that standpoint, I don't think they're going to want to, and I don't know that they should, and especially in this situation now, I don't know that you really need to. The
Right.
league will probably still move ahead with it because they want to put it on and put a showcase on, but I don't think so.
Right. And that's the thing. I think the league is going to go forward with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they should.
Right.
You have Giannis, LeBron James, you have other um, high profile players saying, why are we playing this game?
Right.
Your league is already having COVID issues.
And they are clear, and it's very, very, this is, like we talked about the NHL a second ago. They're having a few here and there, but for the most part, not like this. The NBA's had a lot more.
Right. And you have that, the COVID issues. You're gonna have at least limited fans, more than likely. I'm not even sure where the All-Star game is supposed to be played. But depending on where it's located, you might not be able to have any fans.
Mm-hmm.
So play an All-Star game in an empty stadium, what's the point?
Yeah, right. I mean,
What
like we
is
just
the
talked about,
point?
this is the showcase,
I just don't understand. But again, here is a league thinking they know everything, just like the NHL or NFL. It's really frustrating, and I thought the NBA's commissioner was doing a really good job last year in the bubble. Since the beginning of this season, I think he's fallen flat on his face.
Yeah.
Because this should have been a no-brainer at the beginning of the season. if you want to have an all-star week, and then to give a break and kind of reassess the COVID situation, and then have like a showcase, like a shooting skill showcase, things like that, and do something like that where there's not a game going on, and stream it online or wherever, and do the fun things that the fans, that's what they want. The fans don't care about the All-Star game. They're watching for the
Not really.
wow
No.
plays,
Right.
So I think you could have did that.
And they
And
just run up the score, and there's no
right,
defense, and
there's
it
no
doesn't really. I
defense.
mean, they don't really care. Yeah.
Right. So I think the league is way off point on this one. It'd be interesting because if you're Giannis, like say you're Giannis right now, and obviously, and we'll get into the teams here in just a bit, but if you're Giannis and you're looking at where you guys are sitting as a team, do you want to right now put yourself in a position to possibly A, get hurt, and B, get COVID right now?
Yeah. No and no.
No.
I mean, why would anybody say yes to that? And that's what they're looking at it as, really.
It'll be interesting to see um if I don't know if they can. I don't know if the NBA players can opt out of the All-Star game. I don't know. I don't know what their rules are. That like the NFL, it doesn't matter. If you
Yeah.
just don't want to play, you don't have to play.
Right.
Then that's why they opt out. So I'm not sure what the NBA's policy on that is. But I don't be surprised that if players can opt out, that you don't see the best of the best playing in this All-Star game.
Yeah. It's not official. There may be an opt-out clause for the All-Star game, but I'm not sure. And that's what it says. So yeah, I mean, this is hard to say, and I think personally, if you get enough stars, because the NBA even more so than any other league, right, really is pretty star driven now. And if a lot of these stars come out and just say, we don't want to do this, we don't want to play in it, we don't want to participate. I mean, the NBA caved to that pressure. They might do that because these are your top players. These are the faces of the NBA that are saying this stuff right now. Two of the best players in the league for sure, and I'm sure other players are going to jump on board with that. So,
right. So it's going to be interesting how the league, moves forward with that. Again, like you said, the NBA, when your superstars talk, the league normally listens.
right.
Normally. I'm just hoping that the owners don't sit here and say, we need to recoup money. This is the way we're going to try to recoup money lost, and put the players at risk. So,
Yeah.
But anyways, that was one thing I wanted to get your thoughts on. Before we get into teams and trade rumors and standings, the other big thing that's coming out right now, and this was really interesting to me because I was like, no, this didn't really happen, did it? The story of the Dallas Mavericks no longer playing the national anthem and the league passing a rule saying you must play the national anthem.
Oh boy. Oh man, here we go.
So and then let me see if I can find the article, because Mark Cuban did make a comment about it. I just found that fascinating. And I get there was, how did it even come about that we started playing the national anthem at sporting events?
Mm-hmm.
So I understand kind of, the maybe, looking at it in the future of, well, how did it start? Why did it start? And, I get it. It's kind of an ingrained tradition that we've been accustomed to, all of us
Right.
since we, have, when you grow up with sports, you all know we play you listen to the national anthem at the beginning of every contest. See if I can find it. I don't know. It's amazing. Like today, like just over lunch, I found these, and now I'm going to try to find the articles, and I can't find them. Um, but what are your thoughts on that, Lionel? Not necessarily. It doesn't have to be, I guess. You
And
know,
I just wonder, okay, and I didn't read what Mark Cuban's comments were about why they weren't playing this. So I guess what bothers me about it is really what reason do you have for not doing it? I mean, is there something that you're saying, like you're are you protesting something? Are you saying we just don't feel like doing it anymore? I kind of feel like it's one of those things that's innocuous. You just play the anthem and you start the game. It's just part of the sporting event. And I don't see what the big deal is. Now, people made a big deal about standing and or kneeling and all that stuff during the anthem, because of how they felt about it. But to me, it's just something that it's played before a sporting event because it's representative of the fact that the sporting event is being played in our country. I would love to know, and I do not know this for sure. Do other countries play their national anthem before their sporting events, like all the way across the board? So, high school basketball in England, do they play the English national anthem before they go? I don't know the answer to that. So, I don't know what their feelings are about something like that. But that's why I wonder why this was even a thing in the first place. Why did he decide to do this? To me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense unless you were trying to protest something. I don't know.
so here's his response, um, to people that questioning him. It says, and this is Mark Cuban, and I again, just like Tom Brady, I had a lot of respect for Mark Cuban. This again
Yeah.
tarnishes my view on him. It
Okay.
said the national anthem police in this country are out of control. Cuban tweeted, "If you want to complain to your boss and ask why they don't play the national anthem every day before you start work."
I mean, that's not even a reason. I don't get it. Like,
He doesn't comment of why they aren't playing it.
right.
A little history is about the tradition of playing the Star Spangled Banner. It says prior to 1918, the Star Spangled Banner was not regularly played before U.S. sporting events per CNN. And I'm saying that just because that's the article. That this is where the information is coming from. That and Bleacher Report.
Yeah.
It says the ritual began to grow popularity during World War One, and after the song became the country's official national anthem in 1931, became more regular during World War II, per Times magazine. In 1945, NFL Commissioner Elmer Layden instructed all teams to play the anthem before games, making it the first league to do so. So that it was more of I think the sporting world trying to grow national pride, and I think that's where I'm at. It's one
Yeah.
of those things to be proud. To that's the one time where you get to show your national pride.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You get to show, hey, I am proud to live in the United States of America, and and I'm okay. You want to kneel, you want to sit, fine. I'm all good. You want to
Yeah.
do that? I have no problem with that. It's
Right.
like that. It's your choice,
Right.
but I don't see the big deal of playing it. Canada plays their national anthem before theirs at their stadiums.
Yeah. I
Um,
guess that's what I was trying to understand about
you
this
know,
whole thing is
we we we
why
play it.
he's
We
doing
play
this.
national anthems at the Olympics for the medal
Oh yeah,
ceremony.
for the medal ceremonies. Yeah,
So
I mean, and that I knew. I mean, we know that every single country plays that. The IOC, they automatically play whomever's national anthem of the person that wins the gold medal. I I was kind of trying to understand the rationale, and that's not an answer. That's a well, I'm tired of people saying you have to do things a certain way, so we're going to do it this way because we feel like it kind of answer, but that doesn't really tell me anything. Mark Cuban is known for being vocal. He's known for being, out there, speaking his mind, doing what he wants. He's that kind of guy, I guess. But what is the point of this? I mean, what are you doing? Are you doing it just because you can? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You're not really standing for anything. And I feel like play the national anthem before the game. What are you hurting? What is the
right,
problem by doing that?
right. I don't understand why. And now there's a couple other articles that are saying now that they're going to resume playing the national anthem, and so we'll see what happens. But
Yeah, yeah,
my whole point of this whole topic is, why did you stop? What was
right.
the point of stopping?
Yeah.
You're protesting the country? Well,
Right. I don't know. I mean,
then sell your team and move out of the country.
yeah.
I mean, seriously, you don't like the country, you're a billionaire, leave. I, you know, so um, I mean, I
And I
think we're both,
don't agree with this too. And I was reading an article, now about this. Somebody's saying, well, the NBA no longer has any social currency. They can't make commentary about because the NBA was very much at the forefront of talking about social justice and social equality. And now they're saying, well, the NBA doesn't have that anymore because they stomped on Mark Cuban and they said you have to play the
jeez,
national anthem.
I don't
Totally
agree
wrong.
with that.
Totally wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they still lead the way when it comes to social injustice. I mean, the NFL, great, you put some stuff on the field, but
Right.
um, that I think that's kind of just to appease everything. And we've talked about this at length that you know I feel that if the players want to come out and support those causes, great, that's their choice, but use their time and their own money. Don't be using league money that they got from fans, because I'm not saying this is how I feel, but this is how some fans feel. They don't see an issue, and these fans have paid teams for merchandise and tickets and whatever, and then some of that money has gone to the league. Now the league turns around and spends that money on these programs. You're going to lose fans. So I don't,
Yeah.
but if a group of players want to get together and do this and then support this, and fine.
I
And
just feel like people are reading into this too much. Like, where is this hatred for the anthems, coming from? Where is this?
right,
It's not representative of me. Well, it's the national anthem of our country. So, you live here. It's our anthem. I mean, you can say, well, that anthem doesn't represent what I stand for. I guess, there isn't going to be a different song that's the national anthem of our country. Each country has its own national anthem. I mean, at least I think they do. There's 200 and some countries in this world, so I cannot speak for all of them, but I'll say most of them do.
you should.
Um, yeah, and so
You're supreme
it's not
ruler,
like you're
Lone
gonna be like,
Wolf.
well, that's not representative to me. Yeah, I should know them all. I know, but it's you can't. Oh, that's not well. Okay, but if you go to a sporting event, that's what we're going to do. So that's what we do. I mean, people were looking at this as if let's make a change. What change are you making by not playing it beforehand? Who are you speaking to that is being drawn into watch NBA games by not playing the anthem? Like, what fan base are you drawing in that's bringing in so much money, and like, who are you talking to by doing something like that?
Right. Well, I agree. I absolutely 100% agree. It again, they're, and I'll say it, the the woke. I'm not gonna say left or right because you have woke people on both sides of the aisle. Let's be honest about this.
Yeah.
In that, that's why I'm so sick and tired of the people I know that are so far left and the people I know that are so far right. It's just I just want to take both of them and smack their heads together, and it's like, come on,
Yeah.
it's not, I don't want to hear it. It's like you need to be. You might not want to hear it, but you got to be in the middle. People. It's like,
Right. Have some balance.
yeah, there's got to be balance in the world. If not, we are doomed. So, but yeah, so it's interesting. I think people like just throwing this stuff out there because everyone wants it their way. They don't want to compromise on anything. So, unfortunately, the woke people, again, on both sides of the aisle, don't want to compromise. They don't want to just have a rational thought and be like, yeah, I think it's a good thing for us to have some national pride. I get it. Don't sit here and tell me that, oh, but look at all these social injustices we have. I'm not disputing that there's some social injustices in our country, but they're all over the world. It's not just our country that has these problems. It's the whole world has these problems. That shouldn't deter us from being proud of being from where we're at. So that's my problem with all that stuff. But anyways, we're getting off topic here.
Yeah, a little bit, but yeah.
So, anyways, we will get to on the court stuff now, talking about where we currently are, because we are, almost to the end of that first half schedule that the NBA has put out. If we look at conference standings in the East, you have Philadelphia at the 1 seed, which is a little surprising, not horribly surprising. Then you got the Bucks, followed by the Nets, Celtics, Pacers, Raptors, Hornets, which is very surprising, and then the Hawks. And then you have Miami, a half game back, and then the Knicks and the Bulls a game back.
So on down. Yeah.
So, I think the really only surprise team here would be the Hornets. I did not think that they'd be any good. So that is quite surprising. Not really too surprised with the rest of the East. I shouldn't say it. I am surprised Miami's sitting there at 11-14, but they have won 4 in a row.
Right, I thought they'd be better, but they've kind of picked themselves back up again.
So but I'm not sure who they played, but
well, I'll say this though. I mean, you look at it top to bottom. There's not a lot of teams in the East here that I look at that I say are really that great. And that's kind of what we talked about the East anyway. Is we didn't really think that there's a lot of powerhouse teams in this conference, and that's what you're seeing too. The Hornets. I think I'll say this, and just because I think it's playing out on the court right now. LaMelo Ball is playing really good basketball.
Right. And I agree. And I did not think he would be very good. But here's and he's playing well. Again, he's a rookie, and just like in the NFL, proceed with caution because he can have a good little stretch here and there. Right. Do it for a long period of time. Do it the whole season, and then I'll say, okay, he could end up being really good. But
It's a storyline for now. I think that's part of the reason the Hornets are in the position they are. But they're still 12-14, and he's played well recently. But yeah, yes, obviously, yeah, you got to sustain it over the course of time. So
right. So and of course, staying with the East, the big talk here is how the Nets were supposed to be this unstoppable force and blah 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 blah
yeah,
blah. Well, in their last 10 games, they're 6-4. They've lost to the Cavaliers. They're sitting at 15-12, 4 games back the 1 seed, and I don't want to hear, oh, it's a chemistry thing. Okay, well, the Bucks are dealing with chemistry thing too, and they're, if it wasn't for a last-second loss last night, they would be sitting a game back of the Sixers for the number
right.
1 seed again. So the Bucks are still trying to get cohesive with their new pieces, and they're still sitting in the 2 seed. The
Yeah, and
Nets,
I feel a lot better about them. I mean, you look at it and you say, okay, I don't worry about the Bucks at all because we talked about this. If they're not the number 1 seed in the regular season, who cares?
right?
This roster they were trying to build to win in the postseason, and that's what it's meant to do. And they're still going to be fine in the regular season. If they're the 2 or the 3, whatever. The
But
Nets, there's some things they just don't do well. They do not defend well. They're 28th in the league in points against.
yeah,
That's not a formula to win a title. I'm sorry, it's not.
right. And that's the thing. You, yeah, you went and got James Harden, and so you upgraded your offense. You downgraded your defense.
Yeah,
James Harden doesn't play defense.
right.
You know, um, you
And
know,
they just don't play team defense very well anyway. Just as
right.
all the way around, But that was part of the problem with those stars. We talked about that before. This is a lot of they want to score, score, score. Each one wants the ball. I've seen some people say, "Oh, Kyrie's playing so well." Yeah, the guys are scoring points. We get it. They're probably in the top 5 in points per game. I think they're maybe second, but who cares? If you're not going to stop anybody on defense and you have a little bit of an off night, you're done.
And okay, since they beat the Bucks on a last-second shot, okay, they beat the Bucks at home, 125-123. It was a last-second 3-point shot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to happen. You're not going to do that 4 out of 7 games.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so okay, I'll give them that. You beat the Bucks. Then the next 2 games, you lose to the Cavaliers twice.
Right.
Not good.
Yeah.
And then you win
They
4
are
in a
not
row.
very good. I'm sorry. They're the
Right.
Cavs. They're not very good.
Then you win 4 in a row. You beat the Heat twice. Okay, that was before they kind of went on this little winning streak. So not too impressive there. You beat the Hawks, who are they're around a 500 team. You beat
Yeah.
the Oklahoma City Thunder. Whoop-de-doo.
Right.
You lose to the Washington Wizards. And people can say, oh, it was by 3. I don't care. It's the Washington Wizards. I didn't even know they still had a professional basketball team in Washington.
Yeah. They're
That's how
not any
bad the
good.
Wizards are.
They are not good. Yeah.
You beat the Clippers, okay. Then you lose to the Raptors. You lose to the Sixers. You lose to the Pistons. And then you just beat the Pacers. That's not screaming confidence to me.
No.
I'm sorry.
Especially not for the best big 3 of all time.
Right, the best big 3 of all time before they even stepped on the court together.
I'm just going to keep saying it because I think that's one of my favorite Beavis comments that we've had.
It is, yeah. That was
It's just
one
so
of the
good.
best ones.
Yeah.
So now let's take a look because I think depending on how the seeding goes, you can
Yeah.
see Milwaukee and New Jersey in the Eastern Conference Finals. Okay,
Yeah, I think you could.
we'll take that same stretch. You lose to the Nets by 2. Then you lose so you lose at New Jersey. You lose to the Lakers, which no shame in losing to the Lakers. You lost by 8. You hate to
Right.
lose. Okay. Your game with the Wizards was postponed. Okay. But then you beat the Hawks, you beat the Raptors. Whoop-de-doo about both those. You lose to the Pelicans. That's a bad loss. Then you lose to the Hornets. So 2 bad losses there. But after those games, you beat the Pelicans, you beat the Hornets, you beat the Trailblazers, you beat the Pacers, you beat the Cavaliers twice, you beat the Nuggets, and then you lose to the Suns on a when and they had a chance to win, and Giannis missed a shot at the
Right.
buzzer.
Right.
Suns are better. That's not a game
They're
you should
15. They're
lose.
15-9 though. I
Yeah.
mean, this is not a slouch team.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's not a horrible loss, but it's a team. If you're a legit contender, you'd expect the Bucks to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more confident in what the Bucks have been doing lately than the Nets because their
Yeah.
defense has been improving. Now, is
Right.
it great? No, their defense is still not great,
Yeah.
but
I mean, they're middle of the pack in the league in terms
right.
of defense. Yeah.
They're scoring the most points per game.
Yep.
If their defense can improve, the Bucks are going to be right there. Now,
Right.
now I'm not saying, and right now, J. Holiday is out with
Yeah.
an injury. So you're playing without your second best player, and you're doing what you're doing. You're still 7-3 your last 10 games. Pretty happy with that, to be honest.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's great. I mean, that like, there's some depth to this roster too. I mean, this is a good team all the way around. Um,
Now talking about that, should the Bucks be trying to add a third piece or another piece through a trade before the trade deadline?
I think so because if you look at it, do you feel extremely confident that this team is one that's going to win a title, as opposed to a couple other teams out there that you'd have to face along the way or in the NBA Finals? And the Bucks did try to do that, and that whole trade fell apart. So I feel like they still kind of wanted to have another piece. They did pick up some guys. Portis is playing well. There's guys they brought in, but I still feel like they might want to have another piece that they can lean on here, just in case one of your other two-star players isn't playing or isn't playing well. So yes, I think they should.
So the question then comes down is who do you go after?
Well, what are their needs?
I, I,
What do they
well,
need to do?
I think they need to find not really. I think offensively they're fine. They need
Yeah,
to find some defensive help. They
that's what I
need
was
to get
thinking
better
too. Yep,
defensively.
yep,
Um, and there's been a couple of different players, floating around with the Bucks. You had, and just recently I was reading some things that Levine from Chicago. I was like, well,
yeah.
that might be a little steep. You got Kemba Walker is out there. Um, do you think Kevin Love be an upgrade over Lopez?
Uh,
Both
eh,
aging big men.
both aging. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, Kevin Love has more talent, I think, overall. It's 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 possible that he would be. Yeah.
And there's an article, and I don't know really much about this guy, C.D. Osman from the
Hmm.
Cavaliers. Um, you know, so there's guys out there, or do they try to go after, a, I guess, kind of a superstar type guy and make a big three and hope that they can get to an NBA championship.
Yeah, I honestly think that they could make a move. I think, you look at it and um I think they probably should think about it. I mean, maybe they want to let this ride and see how this roster plays out with all the moves that they've made, but I think the championship is there for the taking this year. I kind of felt like it was last year. I think the Heat were pretty well overmatched by the Lakers in the finals. The teams in the East, I feel like, kind of just fell apart. The Western Conference playoffs, way, way more strenuous on those teams, way harder. And the West is just better anyway. I mean, top to bottom. But I feel like the championship is out there for a team to take, and a team that has to be talented. But the Bucks could do that. I feel like they could still add another piece. I still feel that way.
And one guy, and again, this franchise is kind of doing what the Texans are doing with Deshaun Watson, saying we're not trading him, we're not trading him, we're not trading him.
Right,
That means they're going to trade him, and they've been linked to him since before the season after they made a trade with Houston, and that would be Bradley Beal.
Right.
And I'll tell you right now, if the Bucks could somehow get Bradley Beal, I mean, oh my Lord.
I know. Yeah, I agree. That would be awesome if they could pull that off.
Now you'd probably have to give up Chris Middleton.
Right.
I'm assuming. In any trade, I think Chris Middleton would be shipped out of town. So you have to kind of weigh that out. Do you keep Chris Middleton, who has again improved this year, or do you go after a superstar player like Bradley Beal and hopes that you can re-sign him? When he becomes a free agent, for a fact you probably can keep Chris Middleton, especially now that Giannis is staying. Middleton would probably stay in Milwaukee.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
So do you want to give him up, or do you go for it? That's something I think the Bucks are going to have to look at and make a decision on.
Well, and Giannis at one point, last month or in December, had indicated he felt like they should go for him. So it's a guy he would want in town, and they'd play well together.
Right. And again, I've said it before. People are always saying, "Oh, you're giving up draft picks." Doesn't matter. You have Giannis now for 5 years. You're not going to get a high first-round draft pick anyways. Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. If you trade away your next, you already traded away, 3 future, one draft pick, your first-round draft pick this year, and I think 2 others.
Mm-hmm.
So you trade away 2, 3 more. Make the deal. You're going to draft late in the first round. Does losing that draft pick really impact you that much?
No, it really doesn't. Honestly, you look at the NBA draft, and we've talked about that. There are teams that are going to land a guy who works out and who ends up being that guy. But does it really hurt you in this situation? No. And look, there's a window, right? And if the Bucks want to capitalize on that, then they need to make a move. They've been close 2 years in a row, and they haven't broken through. And I think they really want to do that. The offseason, to me, shows that they want to do that. So make a move this year. Do it. Go for it. Win that championship.
And like we said, if you go ahead and you mortgage your future, you win 1 or 2 NBA titles, and you do that, and then Giannis retires or leaves, after this contract, and you kind of fall into the doldrums for 4 years, people aren't going to care because you brought a title.
Yeah, you did what you set out to do. The goal is to win that NBA championship.
Right.
They don't have to mortgage everything to do this, but they need to make a solid effort to bring a guy like him in and to try as much as they possibly can to win that title.
Right, exactly. And I agree. I absolutely agree with that. So, well, let's move to the West now because I think we can safely say that we still think, even though the Sixers are the 1 seed, I think
Yeah,
we're still under the impression that the Bucks and the Nets are the two teams to beat in the East.
I would
Um,
say so. Yeah,
Sixers
and
are
more
playing
so the
great.
Bucks than the Nets. Yeah,
The Sixers are playing great, but I think the reason they're the number 1 seed is the Bucks haven't really completely gelled yet. Once they gel, they'll overtake the Sixers, I think,
yeah,
moving forward. So, um, so moving to the West, the Jazz still hold
yeah.
on, I want to see barely by a half a game, but they're sitting at 20-5.
Right.
That's a surprise. I thought they could be a playoff team. I did not see them. I don't think they're going to hold on to the number 1 seed. I think they're going to be in that probably the top 4 here, but that's still a great story. You'd like to see that. Then
Well,
you
and
got
and there's really not a lot of things that this team does badly, you know. So I mean, there's a reason why they're playing. They're at that spot because they're playing so well all the way across the board. Points per game, points against, rebounds per game, offensive and defensive rebounds. They're in the top 5 or 6 in those categories. Like that's the reason they're at the point they are. What do they not do well? They don't get a lot of steals per game. Okay,
yeah,
so
whoop de
what?
doo.
Yeah, I mean they're doing everything else well. Um, that's the reason that they're in this spot. I am surprised by them too. I did not think they were going to be this good.
Right.
Yeah.
Then of course you got the Lakers,
Yep.
who it's interesting because yes they're winning, but they've had a lot of injury issues.
Right.
Um, and again, Anthony Davis, great player, but again,
He's injured right now.
he has an Achilles issue. That's scary.
Yeah.
Just talk to Kevin Durant about that, because that's what started with the year he tore his Achilles. That's how his season started too. With having that sore Achilles throughout the season and this and then all of a sudden he tears it.
Yep.
Um, so if Davis goes down for an extended period of time, I don't think the Lakers will fall off the face of the earth, but they are not going to be a dominant team. They'll still be, I think, in the playoffs and in the discussion. But they better hope that is not a lingering issue that he's dealing with there. Then you got the
Right.
Clippers, then the Suns that we talked about, and that was the one team that when we went through what's the one team you would want that roster, that young roster to build? That was the team I picked.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Yep.
I,
I picked the Hawks and you picked the Suns, and right now they're both in the playoffs.
right.
So
And
yeah.
I think the Suns finally have a front office and a coach that knows what they're doing.
Right. Yeah.
you know,
It's about
After
time,
you had
They
the
haven't been
Charles
good for a
Barkley and
while.
the Dan Marley era, and
Right.
yeah, and where they came close but just couldn't get over the hump, and then all of a sudden they fell off the face of the earth. Um,
Yeah. And I
so
mean, look, they've won 4 games in a row. They beat the Pistons, the Celtics, the Cavs, and then the Bucks.
Bucks.
So
So the only stinker team in there was the Cavs.
well, the Pistons, yeah.
Oh, the Pistons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the Cavs aren't great, but they're not awful. The
Yeah.
Pistons are awful.
So
But they beat some quality teams in there in that last little stretch. So I mean, it looks like things are turning around for them. They have to play the 76ers on Saturday. Um, So, this team, this is kind of one of those in the West that I'll be interested to see how this progresses as the season goes on. Do they sustain this kind of, level of efficiency? Are they going to be able to be in that 4 or 5 spot still as the season wears on?
Right. That's going to be it. Can they sustain and stay in that upper half of the playoff teams?
Right.
I think they're going to be in the playoffs. I think they're going to make the playoffs, but it'll be interesting to see if they can hold on to one of those top four slots. After the Suns, you have the Trailblazers, who I kind of expect them to be around where they're at.
Yeah.
The San Antonio Spurs, to me, are a surprise this year. I did not think that they were going to be in a playoff position this year. I thought they were a year or two away of kind of retooling that whole thing.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah.
so, and they started out kind of poor, but they've really, they're 6-4 in their last 10. They're over 500. They're playing a lot better, and you got to give credit to Popovich.
Yeah.
I mean, he just continues to put solid teams out there.
Yeah,
Um,
because I mean, I look at them statistically, and I don't say, "Wow, this really stands out to me." Like there's no category where, "Oh, they're really good at this."
right.
So yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
and
and yet
they
here they are.
really don't have like that one superstar. You're like, whoa, he's really awesome.
Right.
They're
Yep.
just a quality basketball team.
Hmm.
So, if they could find a superstar, I think that would put them up closer to the top of that Western Conference.
And
Then you
that's where they
got,
have been, in the
right,
past. But yeah, now they're not in that position any longer.
right.
So
Then you got the Nuggets, who I think they're a little disappointing. I thought they'd be a lot better than
hmm
13 and 11. I thought them and the Suns would be kind of flip flopped.
right.
They're
Especially after last year's showing in the postseason for them. But yeah, things have kind of turned on them a little bit this year.
right. And then you got the Warriors, who we expect them to be back in the playoffs, and people say, "Oh, they're only in the 13 and 12." Tell you what, Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, they're figuring this thing out. They have so many new pieces on that roster.
Yeah.
They will be active at the trade deadline. They will get a piece. They do not sleep on the Warriors.
Right. No, I
Now,
agree.
now
Curry's playing really, really good basketball.
I'm not saying they're going to make the NBA Finals. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship. But I am very confident that if they are the sixth, seventh, or eighth seed, they will knock off. They will win in the first round
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think they can.
because they're
I
not an
agree.
eight seed.
Right.
They're not an eight seed, and if they can even make to the second round without having Klay Thompson, watch out. Now, I really think the Warriors have to really take a long look this offseason at Klay Thompson. He's had some major
Yeah,
injuries.
massive injuries. Yeah, yeah.
You might, I know what he's meant to that franchise and what he helped them do. But if you can get a trade package for him, you trade him.
Hmm.
As hard as it might be for Warriors fans to hear that, you trade him. I don't think ever be the player he once was. Um, he reminds me kind of like Dan Marley from the Suns.
Yeah.
He was so explosive those first couple years. Then he had the torn ACL, and then he had a back injury, and then he still could shoot the lights out of the ball.
Oh yeah, and that's what he was around for, basically at that point.
But he
He was
could
a shooter,
he
but
could not get up and down the court anymore. He could not play great defense.
hmm
You know, so you hate to see it because I think Klay Thompson is a great player, but I just don't know if he can come back from these injuries and be the same player.
and be the same guy. Exactly.
You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
um, and then after that, you have the Kings at 12-12. That's a kind of surprise. I thought they'd be horrible.
Right. I agree. Yeah, that one to me stands out. I'm like, oh, they're actually not half bad.
And then you got the Grizzlies at 10-10, which kind of probably where I would have slotted them.
Yeah.
But then how about, and I know they've won 3 in a row, the Dallas Mavericks sitting at 12-14. When you have everybody's preseason favorite to win the MVP on your team.
I guess what does this show you? It shows you that basketball is still a team game. So, but you look at them and there's nothing that they stand out and do well. That's the real issue for me. They have a great player in Doncic. He's great, right? But the team itself is not playing overall basketball great in any category, right? They're 17th in points per game, 23rd in points against. They're middle or low pack, offensive and defensive rebounding and low end rebounds per game. They're not getting it done in all the major categories. So they're not playing good team basketball. So you can have a great player, but clearly that's not all that's cracked up to be. They're not playing well as a team.
Because here's the telling thing with this team. You shut down Luka, you beat him.
Right.
Okay. And there's 5 statistical categories I'm looking at. Points per game.
Yep.
27.8. Who's the leader?
Right, Luka Doncic. Yeah.
Yeah, Luka. All right, I just want you to answer these.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Rebounds per game, 8.7. Who's the leader?
Luka.
Assists per game, 9.3. Who's the leader?
Luka.
Steals per game, 1. Who's the leader?
Luka.
4 for 4. Blocks per game, 0.8.
Luka.
No, that was James.
Oh, okay. I just threw that in there because I figured it'd be.
But here's the thing. 4 out of the 5 top statistical categories on your team, Luka Doncic is your leader.
Right.
That's not good.
Right. That's a one-man show. That's what we call that.
Yeah. And you have Porzingis, who's averaging 19.7 points per game. And Tim Hardaway Jr. 17.2. Josh Richardson 12.9. I mean, that's not good. And Luka's already shown he can't stay level-headed, and he's blowing up at officials for not getting calls, and he's getting a reputation for being whiny when he doesn't get a call.
Right.
That's not good. That's not an MVP.
No, not at all. Well, and just far and away, that he's clearly a guy who's they just don't have the roster to be there. They have a great player in Doncic, but I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. is a nice piece. He's a nice player, but he's not the second guy that you need on your roster if you're going to make a run in the playoffs. He might be your third guy.
Exactly.
He's not your second guy.
Exactly. Yeah. I just don't get it. I get it. He's a great player. I don't see it an MVP here because if you're that great, your team would not be sitting under 500 right now.
Yeah.
And not in the playoffs. And you look at the stretch, and okay, I get it. They've played some good teams here. But again, you're supposed to have the presumptive MVP, right? Mm-hmm. So going back, just a few games, you lose to the Rockets, who are not going anywhere. And you didn't lose to them by a few. You lost them by 25.
Yeah, that's a horrible loss, yeah.
You lose to the Nuggets, okay. You lose to the Jazz twice in a row. I get that. But here's the telling stat here. If you are supposedly one of the better teams in the Western Conference because you have Luka, You lost to the Jazz by 12 and then 19. Those games should be closer.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting smoked in all of these games here.
You can lose those games, not by that much.
Right.
Then you lose to the Suns by 6 and the Suns by 1. Okay. You beat the Hawks. Okay. Then you lose to the Warriors by 31.
Yeah.
And then you
It's just
beat the Warriors
embarrassing.
by 2. And then you beat the Timberwolves by only 5. And then you beat the Hawks again by 1. So yeah, you won 3 in a row, but it was by a combined 8 points.
Yeah, this is nothing to write home to mom about. You know, I mean,
The-
the
the-
win's a win; they'll take them. But I mean,
if,
still,
if I'm a Mavericks fan, I'm very, very concerned with my team.
right?
Um, this does not give me confidence.
It doesn't smell like a playoff team to me. You
No,
know, it just doesn't have the mix-up of a team that does anything particularly well. You have a prolific scorer on your team, but that's about it. You know, and yeah, he's leading in all these other categories, but that's not really helpful. Again, like you said, it's a one. I said it earlier, it's a one-man show, and that does not win playoff games or NBA titles. So, if you're not doing things well as a team, then forget it.
right, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So, um, you know, I again, I'm concerned with the Mavericks. Obviously they're not going to trade Luka, but they need pieces there. Um,
yeah, they
otherwise,
absolutely do.
otherwise, eventually Luka won't be there
Yeah,
because I don't think that keeping the roster intact how it um, is going to get you anywhere. So
no, no,
um, moving forward, and the big thing is that they were they wanted to make a pitch for Giannis and with Luka. Well, here's the thing, and I think Giannis knew this a long time ago that he wasn't going anywhere. He was trying to get people to come to Milwaukee. He wants people to come to Milwaukee. He doesn't
right?
want to go anywhere. He wants people to come and play with him in Milwaukee.
Yeah,
And that's what I think what people, um, when these teams were trying to create cap space, weren't thinking about is that he never wanted to leave Milwaukee. He
right.
wanted people to join him. And now, can they do that? Can they attract one another piece? We'll see. We'll see what happens. Um, we'll see what happens with them in Milwaukee. But then, after the Mavericks, you got the Pelicans, the Rockets, the Thunder, and the Wolves, who aren't going anywhere. Um,
Right.
Now the Timberwolves, yeah, they stink. But could they be looking to trade Towns?
Has that been the rumor here, or
I'm just saying
yeah?
I have not seen anything with Towns being mentioned or
Okay.
anybody from the Timberwolves even being traded. But you're sitting with 6 wins. You're
Yeah.
6-19. You're going nowhere. Towns, I don't know what his contract status is. Let's see here. Towns. He's accounting for 29 million a year.
Okay.
Um, you know, I you know,
Yeah. I mean,
do you take he's drafted in 2015, so he's in
right.
year 5, so I'm sure his contract is coming up.
Yeah, and right now he's out. I think because of the Might be out because of COVID or something. He's got something.
No, he's back. He's coming.
He's back.
He
Oh,
just
okay.
came back. So,
I think you look at it and you say, if you're in that situation and you're the T-Wolves, any trade really should be on the table for you at this point to shake things up for your roster. I mean, really can't get worse. I mean, you could, I guess, but 6-19 is pretty bad. So, I mean, yeah, I think you should look at that, see what you can get, build this roster up again.
well, and you need draft capital, but
Yeah, you
let's
do.
be honest,
Yeah,
you need draft capital. I
they haven't been good for a while.
since the Kevin Durant or Kevin Garnett days.
Right.
Um, and if you really think Towns can be that guy, you'll know really quick when he starts playing again that if he is. But he's only played 5 games this year because of the COVID, and he's averaging 21.2 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you that's good, but that's not superstar good. He's
I don't know that they have a superstar on their roster, though.
right,
I
and
mean,
that's the thing.
yeah.
He's 6'11", 250 pounds. The biggest asset he has is that he's averaging 12 rebounds a game.
Right.
For his career, he's averaging 22.6 points per game, 11.8 rebounds per game, but only 1.5 blocks per game. That right there, it's kind of it's
He's a
kind of
good
one of those things where it's like, is he worth $29 million to us?
right. He's a good player, but yeah, he's not. I don't think he's the guy. Like he's not that one guy that you build around. It doesn't feel like. At least not right now. It doesn't seem like he's that guy. Now, could that be the case in another city? Could he be a nice piece for somebody else? For sure. But I think the T Wolves have to look at it and say, let's get what we can in this situation. Because I feel like if you look at it, if he's a free agent at some point, he'll go test the market and he'll see what he can get, and he'll probably land somewhere else. So you probably want to get something for him as opposed to letting that happen.
Right, and if you look at it's kind of looking at some of these stats. There's um, it's called 538. It's like a career projection, and it gives his market value projection.
Yeah.
And right now, 2021 is his highest career market value projection, and each year it goes down almost a full point.
Well, yeah. I mean, and there's that analytics piece that some of these guys are looking at.
So right now, this would be the year to trade him. He's 25 years old. Um,
Yeah, get the most out of him that you can at this
he
point.
he is a former All-Star. Just think about this. Yeah, and I know you could probably trade, theoretically, 2 first-round draft picks, Brooke Lopez, Chris Middleton for Towns. Would you do it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he would fit in with the Bucks roster. I don't think that would be a bad choice.
No, I mean, now you
Yeah,
got Giannis at the forward position, you got Drew Holiday at guard, and you got Towns at center.
yeah,
I mean, you'd love to keep Chris Middleton.
right. I mean, that's the thing. I'd love to have Middleton stay because I think that would just make the overall roster
But
that much better. Great.
what you would need to do is you would have to trade away 3 to 4 first-round draft picks
Yeah,
to get a player like Towns.
right. That's the problem. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, again, knowing where I'm at with Giannis, I might be willing to do that, knowing that I'm not going to have a high first-round draft pick.
Sure. Right. So you're not trading away the chance to get.
You're not trading away a lottery pick
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
if you do this. So again, you know, yeah, it's feasible to do. So
Right.
that he's an interesting player. I haven't really seen his name in a lot of trade talks, but it's not one that I would say it's not going to happen either.
I would say that what I've seen is more, analysts writing about the Timberwolves just making a trade. Like
Right.
they're on the board for doing something, and they really should, because like you said earlier, they need the draft capital. They
I
absolutely
mean, you could easily trade Malik Beasley.
do. Yeah.
He's a player. He's only 13 million on the salary cap. I really think though you would be looking. They would be looking at moving either D'Angelo Russell. Yeah, the Bucks don't need a point guard.
No.
Um, but he's kind of been journeyman player. He's 28 million versus the salary cap, or Towns. I think they want to try to build around Towns, but again, you got to look at it and say, is he a guy that can be that centerpiece? And I don't think he can. I think he's a really good player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's that franchise player that's going to help lead you to the playoffs. He's definitely not going to be the centerpiece to a world championship.
No. And I think that's pretty clear now for where you are.
Right.
We were just talking about other teams and one man show kind of thing. Well, the Mavericks are in a position where their record obviously speaks to how they're better than the Timberwolves. Where they are and what kind of player that is. So if Towns were that good, then I think this team would be maybe in that position as
Yeah.
opposed to being 6-19.
And yeah, if Towns was that type of player, I think they would be around 500.
Right, right.
So
Then you could say, okay, now we can add another piece, and let's see where this takes us.
right.
But they're not in that position. They're absolutely not. So
Well, all right, Lone Wolf, that is all I have for the night. Is there anything that we've missed that you want to touch on?
no, and I really wanted to delve in the NBA, and we did that. The only thing I think we have left is maybe the Beavis comment of the week, huh?
I can't really find it, and I want to confirm the tweet.
Okay.
But Max Kellerman made a tweet about how Aaron Rodgers could have won the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers team, and then Tom Brady responded. I want to have the actual tweet. I looked on Twitter, I couldn't find it. So we're gonna have to postpone the Beavis comment of the week this week because again, I don't want to misquote anybody because if it was like kind of a meme one that somebody made up, I don't want to put it out there as a quote of somebody, even though I have utter disdain for Tom Brady. But
Right.
I still not appropriate to misquote him if he didn't actually make the quote. So I will frivolously research that tweet for next week, and if I can find it, that will be another topic of conversation because if it is true, if he did make that tweet, ooh, you think throwing the Vince Lombardi Trophy was disrespectful? Just
Right.
wait.
Just wait. Exactly.
So, and if I find it, I will tweet it to you.
Okay.
So you can get prepare your your comments for it next week. So,
That works for me.
all right, everybody, thank you for listening, whether it's live or recorded. Have a great week, and I hope wherever you're at, it's warmer than we're at because it is cold.
Brutally cold.
All right. Good night, everybody, and have a great week.
Good night.